Yo, what is going on, guys? Cryptic TMG back with a brand new video. We are back on Automobilista 2. And guys, from the last video I made, I got some feedback, lads. I got some feedback. Some of you guys weren't happy with my description of the game, right? But to be fair, I think I was right in some of the things I was saying. Now, I got some comments, and I got this comment in particular that basically told me, you know, the game's not easy and I should try this car and, you know, around Daytona and stuff like that. So I said I would try it. I literally did about 4 laps at Daytona, acing Daytona straight away because no one had really done a lap time around there. So instead, what I did is I went to Interlagos to battle it out in a time trial that was way more populated. So this is my attempt at trying to take the world record around Interlagos in the Mclaren 720S GT3. Let's go. So here is the lap that we got the world record with, and I probably can knock about 2 tenths off this as well because I didn't actually do my best sectors on this lap. But yeah, like you'll see, basically what you want to achieve in the GT3 is what I've noticed so far about Automobilista 2 is something that we used to do on Project Cars 2, and it does work. You might have to do slightly different things in the setup, but the principle of what I'm trying to achieve is creating a slip angle is the same, and it does work. So I'm going to play it slowly going into turn 1. As you go into turn 1, you kind of want to gear down late into first gear. For me, I prefer to get the lap done on the first lap. I don't like to do loads of laps, you know. And then hold it tight. You want to hold it tight as possible around this left-hander. And try and straighten the wheel as much as possible because you want to stop the TC actually cuts in while you're going around this long left. So you kind of want to straighten up the wheel as much as you can to get the TC to stop cutting in as early as possible. And that's going to help you get a very good first sector. I didn't actually achieve my best first sector on this lap. I think I did a 21.9, but my best first sector is a 21.8. So I was still a 10th off, but I managed to get a very good middle sector. So just going down the straight, and this corner can be quite difficult, particularly on the setup that I'm using. And I'll stop it here. You want to brake as you see this little gap in the road just before the 100. That's where I start to brake. And you'll see I kind of trail brake a little, you know, let the car rotate a bit. Then I shift down to second. And I get a nice little slide into the corner, and you can just about see the slight slip angle. You will see it much better in the slow corners as well. Again, you want to use all the track here. Down to 4th, down to 3rd. Hold a super tight line, and it allows you to get on the power very soon. And here's where you're going to see the slip angle. You can see the car just rotate as we go through this corner, and it's very beneficial. Definitely helps you get rotated. You see a bit more here as well. You have to be able to control it though. You see that slip angle, the car sort of slides into the corner and the back end follows round, and then you kind of have to catch it on the exit. It's a very weird way of driving, but I already knew on this game that it was going to be a fast way to get around the track because the similarities that, you know, there is between this car and Project Cars 2. And the last corner, this is actually where I was struggling the most. This is where I was down compared to the guy that previously held the world record. I was down in the last sector. I'm not sure how he's taking the last corner. I did lower the front of the car, so it's a little bit harder for me to mount the inside curb. So maybe he's more over this inside curb here and able to carry the speed going down the back straight, whereas I have to kind of take a little nibble of it, but not too much because it bounces my car off the track on the outside, so. Now it's just pretty much a race to the line. Our middle sector was a 47.2, which was pretty good. We managed to complete the lap. It's a 31.3, which this is done in the older GT3 cars, so they are slower than the newer GT3 cars. I haven't bought any of the newer GT3, so I can't actually do any laps. I did have a look at what the lap times were for the world record in the new GT3s at the time, and I think it was like a 1:30.0, something like that. But now in the old GT3s, the fastest time was a 31.5, so we've managed to eclipse that. And I think when I first tried my first go on this, I was doing about a 32.6, and that was before I started changing setups and stuff like that. So I was literally well off the pace, a good second and a half pretty much. And since I started messing with the setup, trying some old things that I know were like the, you know, the metas back in the day on Project Cars, you have to alter them slightly, but definitely do work. So let's run through what I did in the setup to get the car to perform in the way that it did. So just the basics now. I went down on the vehicle force feedback gain. Not too much. For me, whenever I go below about 84%, I'd start to lose the back end and not be able to hold it. But I didn't like it all the way on 100. So I ran at about 88. I put the steering lock down to 16. I actually run 540 degrees on this game. So my steering angle, my steering degrees is 540 and steering lock in game 16 for the Mclaren 720. Put the brake bias more towards the rear, 53, 47. Obviously take the fuel out. I'm running only 2 wing, and you're probably thinking, how the hell are you managing to get away with running 2 wing and still being fast in the middle sector? And that's where, you know, the Project Cars meta is going to come in. I'm going to show you guys when I go into the advanced setup page. But anti-roll bar, fronts on 10, rears on 1. I put the traction control down to 5, and I also put the anti-lock brakes down to 5. So let's move into the advanced setup page. On the drivetrain, nothing too much. I think I put the preload up to 90. I left the clutches on 6. As you can see, engine braking on 4, radiator opening 45%. I did try 0, but what happened when I did 0 is I did the first lap, and then as soon as I got to the first corner, I had a turbo failure. So I thought I better just keep it sort of mid-range and hopefully it works out. Obviously boost pressure all the way up at 85%. Let's move to suspension. This is pretty much where all the magic happens. And I'm going to give you guys a general rule of thumb. And these are all things, literally all things I just remember from Project Cars, bro. None of this stuff is from any sort of knowledge of Automobilista 2. I don't play the game. Everything I'm about to tell you is things that I'm taking from my knowledge of Project Cars 2. So came down on the caster angles. That might be preference, because obviously you know, the more caster you have, the heavier the wheel. I don't really like my wheel to be too heavy because I feel like it interferes with my arms. But I put the camber on the front pretty much down to the minimum. So the camber we rock at minimum. I put the ride height down to 51. I believe I left the spring rate. I left the bump stop on the front. And the first rule of thumb I'm going to tell you is your slow rebound should always be higher than your slow bump. So the rebound should always be higher than the bump. This is something I've taken from project cars, which I always used to do. For whatever reason, it just used to work. But normally, I think on default, some of these values were the same. I would say always have your slow rebound higher than your fast bump and slow bump. And that's something I've taken literally from P cars. Now, if you look at the rear camber, this is where it gets weird because technically this shouldn't work. My rear camber is actually higher than my front camber. And for whatever reason, it was exactly the same on P cars. I don't think it was to this extent. I think we used to run like maybe 2 on the front and 2.5 on the rear, something like that. But I'm running 3 on the rear, 2 on the front. So I've got way more camber on the rear tires, which allows me to run lower drag setups. I've actually did a lap around here and I did a 31.5 using only 1 wing. So I was still able to get pretty fast times even with less wing than what I'm using, and I was able to actually get around the track without binning it. It's just through certain corners it does get a little bit tricky, particularly on acceleration and stuff like that. The back end can step out too much sometimes, and I think I went up on the ride height, slightly on the rear as well. So you can see we're actually creating more rake with the car, taking downforce off. So theoretically the rear end of the car should be so loose and sketchy, but it's not, because I'm able to run more camber on the rear tires, which helps keep the car in line. I know it's extremely weird and it's very, very broken, but when I played this game, the feeling of the game, I just knew stuff like this would work, and that's kind of how you end up getting the slip angles that I was talking about that do help you set faster lap times. Again, with the slow bump and the rebounds, it's the same rule. Always make sure your rebounds are higher than your bumps. I think I went down on the rear toe a little bit as well. I think it was on 0.3. We pull it down to 0.2. Put the front up to minus 0.3 as well. And front duct opening 45%, rear duct on 40. And as you can see there, that's the wing. I didn't even touch the tire pressures because I don't know the tire pressures for this game. We put the brake pressure to 100%, and that, lads, is it. That is literally all we did. Now, there is another Project Cars meta that used to work back in the day. This is one that I didn't used to use though, but I remember some of the fastest guys, the very fastest guys on Project Cars 2, they used to drive with a steering ratio of 360. Even in the GT3 cars, they used to use 360, and it was kind of weird. They used to sort of soar at the wheel, but it was rapid. I don't know if it works in this game. I haven't tested it because it's not natural for me to drive at such a small ratio. I prefer 540, but you know, that is another thing that did used to work back in the day. You guys are welcome to test it, man. You're welcome to use the setup. You could literally use it anyway. If you go into time trial, I'm pretty sure you can download setups. So yeah, guys, tell me what you think, man. Try it with some other GT3 cars. If you've got the GT3 Pack 2, try it with those and see if it works in those as well. I'm sure, you know, these things are probably universal in the GT cars. I'm not sure about any other genre. I don't know. I have no clue. Literally, I just jumped on because someone told me I should try driving the Mclaren 720 because it will be sketchy. I did try it at Daytona, but at Daytona, there was no real proper world records there doing this anymore. So then that's why I went to Interlagos, and yeah, we managed to set the fastest time. Now if I go back to Interlagos really quickly, and just to show you that I think this P-Cars 2 meta is still working today, because if we actually switch the class, I actually jumped in the Porsche quickly to see if it worked in the other cars, and I set the second fastest time literally on like my third lap in the Porsche. So it's definitely something that works. I can also tell you as well, the fastest first sector time I did was actually in the Porsche. And just before I picked my daughter up from school, I jumped in the Porsche and had a go. And I did like a what's it a 21.7 in the first sector. And I thought, Jesus, this thing's rapid. So there's definitely more time in it. I don't know whether I'm going to be on the game long enough to like do all the GT3 cars and test them out. I don't really want to be buying packs and stuff because I'm literally waiting for the Le Mans Ultimate update next week. But for you guys that play this game religiously, man, try it out, see if it works, give me some feedback, see if this video helped you. But anyway, guys, it's Cryptic TNG. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to catch my videos first, and peace.
I'm ready to hoop. I'm ready to hoop. Okay. I got the bag, got the juice. I got the bag in the coupe. I got the patty on woo. I got the splash in the boob, and I'm thumbing, I'm burning the